council to order. Let the record show that all members of the council are present. Everyone in your smaller folder, you should have an agenda for the work session. You'll see that the first item was to review the agenda for tonight's regular meeting. So if you'll turn with me in your big folder. So we've got, of course, our roll call, opening prayer and pledge allegiance, approval of the agenda, and then the consent agenda, which consists of work session minutes from January 17th, city council meeting minutes from the same night, accounts payable A and B, and then contract billings from Blankenship for the 167 sewer utility relocation. I guess we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. Then we've got some other billings from Poly having to do with the sewer utilities relocation, and then the ADVA home work, the design bid services for the PV Park multi-purpose sports complex, and the resurfacing phase 3B, and then our normal billing from Fine Getty for our state government relations contract, and some travel requests from admin, engineering, police, and Parks and Rec, a request to dispose and sell of equipment. Are there any questions on the consent agenda? Like I said, we're going to talk about some of that here in a minute. All right, then we'll have Mayor Cooper has an award to present, privilege of floor and staff reports. Then moving into old business. So we've got 3 public hearings tonight considering the same subjects, and that's the vacation of 3 streets. That's East Brunson, Hollis, and Swenson. All of these, as we have discussed several times in the past, have to do with the
have
new.
we had any issues with this?
Well, that's going to be part of the public hearing. We're gonna get any of those reports, but if y'all want, I'm supposed to. I assume what I'm doing is satisfying some statutory requirements here. I'm going to address the city clerk, the mayor, each of you, and staff. I'm going to ask all of you if you've heard of anything. Barry, you got something? Thomas? Yeah, come on. Of course, we're going to have to do this again in the public hearing.
Sure. Let me turn this on real quick.
Okay.
And we can do this again during the regular session. But
Yeah, we'll need to.
I did get a couple of questions about what the roads were going to be and whether they were closed or not. And the one for East Brunson Street, the question was whether or not this road would be turned into a cul-de-sac on the end of it. In particular, right here, so what I did was I gave the skewed a little bit. This is East Brunson Street here, so just showing that there is a cul-de-sac added to that project because the rec center will be sitting right over the top of Brunson Street. So I've gotten that comment, as well as just people having general questions about whether or not we were going to take any houses or do anything with general property. And answer that, it's all no.
Right.
This was just a vacation of the road.
So it's just the areas shown in red there.
The areas shown in red are the sections of road for each one of those 3 resolutions. I just put them all on one graphic in case anybody had any questions during the public hearing.
Yeah, this would be very helpful to have these pulled up during the public hearing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. So you're not expecting anybody to come to the public hearing tonight?
No one that I know of, sir.
Okay. All right. Any questions before? Obviously, we'll have another opportunity at this.
I think he really touched on the questions that I had. I'm getting calls. Well, what does vacate mean? Does that mean we got to vacate our property? So
right. I think there was confusion just using the words.
To those callers.
I did, and Thomas also received some calls as well. And I don't want to speak for him, but
Council, I received one phone call, and one person actually came in person to ask what this effect would be to their property. That's the only 2 that we've got. This is the same question. is this just going to affect the road, or is this going to affect my property as well? It's not going to affect anyone's property. It's not going to affect anyone's driveway, just the road highlighted in red. So I believe everybody that I spoke to, Mr. Perry, and I can't remember the other gentleman, but they were all satisfied with the answer.
And nobody's property is going to be denied access to the public street system.
Yes, sir.
There's multiple ways in and out.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anything else on the street vacation public hearings? We'll have 3 separate public hearings, one for each street. Then we'll move on to review and consider bid recommendations for the CDBG demolition project phase 4. Who's going to tell us about that, Barry?
Yes, sir. Just real quickly, this is phase 4 of the demolition project. The grant that was issued was $272,900, and this is phase 4. So with this phase, Clay's here to answer any questions if you want to get down in the weeds on any of these, but he gave a quick recap. With phase 4, we'll have 31 properties that have been removed out of the system. Our goal was in that 40 range, if we could get 40 done. We've got phase 5 and 6 that are currently being worked through right now, doing asbestos testing, and see if we get through with those, we're going to add another 22 different properties to that. So somewhere in the 53 range if we get all those, if they pass through all the inspections. So this is right in line with all the other bids that we've gotten, and we believe we're making a difference in some of the areas and some of those properties that we're getting demolished and put back down, as grass. It was a nice article put in the paper.
So the current grant we've got covers obviously this phase 4, and the next phase 5. Will we have used all of the funds?
So at the end of phase 4, we've got $119,000 left.
Okay.
Of the $272,000. So we think we've got enough money to cover the phase 5 and 6, but we're bouncing on the time limit that they gave us in the grant to get those projects complete. So we're trying to go ahead and get phases 5 and 6 under wraps, and then that will be the last 2 phases we'll have of this project.
So what's the challenge, the biggest challenge with getting this done, just getting enough properties?
Yeah, Clay will come up and tell you he's reached out to a ton of different people trying to get people to get on the program, but for whatever reason he couldn't reach them, or they wouldn't reply, or they told him no. So we've tried to fill this gap up. In talking to David, the grant administrator, he said he's had the same problem in the past. The first couple of phases pretty easy. Then as you get towards the latter phases of a project, you typically run out of houses that people are willing to put into the program. So I think from staff's perspective, we've made a huge dent with this program if we can get up to that 53 mark on the houses. One of the ones that have signed up for phase 5 is the car wash across the street from City Hall. They've volunteered to put up. We're going through the process of getting it approved as possibly for a phase 5. And then the old 10 suites, possibly in phase 6, the 10 original parcels over there on, I'm trying to think of the name of the street.
So you were able to do commercial properties on this also?
After we ran through all the residential homes that were there, as long as they were vacant and there was no one living in those, they were able to allow us to bring those in later in the grant. ADECA allowed us to do that. The old Pecan store, as you're coming underneath the underpass, going downtown on the right, that was one they allowed us to do, but they wanted us to exhaust all efforts to get residential houses done first. So we pushed as hard as we could to get the houses done, and then after that, we looked for blighted commercial properties that we could add to the grant.
So we need to find some more properties, it sounds like.
So I think at the end of this 5 and 6 that we've already got signed up, I think that's going to be the end, because we'll run out of time on the grant.
Okay.
I think that's going to be the end of it. But
So we don't
I don't
necessarily
know that we'll have any more time for additional ones, but if people have them, we will try to get them in on the sequential list to get them done under this grant. If not, we'll start a list for the next grant as well. So we've reached out, and I think we've done that on our Facebook page and the city's page, trying to say anybody that's got a property they would like to include, please get it to us.
Okay.
So
I noticed on the bidders, there was a lower bidder, but he did not meet the specifications of the bid.
yes, sir. In that situation, they didn't include a bid bond with their bid, and they didn't have their contractor's license number. There was a couple of issues in the bid. It was non-responsive. By state law, it was required to be part of a bona fide bid,
Mhm.
and it was not included, so we had to reject that.
It's like it was about $1,000
Yeah,
less.
it's about
It wasn't a
$1,000
big
difference.
deal.
Okay.
And that was the ruling from David Ewing, the grant administrator. He thought we needed to reject that to follow state bid law.
Okay.
So we went along with his recommendation.
Have we ever advertised for this in the paper? I heard you say Facebook. I was going to ask about that. So you.
For properties to be included,
Mhm.
I don't know that we have. Have we done anything on the newspaper?
I've spoken to a reporter with the newspaper, and she has asked for follow-up information. So I would expect something to be in the paper now.
That would be good. I mean,
I couldn't hear her.
She expects something to be in the paper about it.
At this rate, if we get 5 and 6 approved, we'll be over our goal for the number of structures that we wanted to get included and within the budget money that we had.
Okay. And then when does the next cycle start? If we,
Clay, do you know?
I'm talking about the next grant cycle. Like if after phase 5.
I'm not sure. We will close this grant out, and then as soon as they allow us to reapply, we will.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. Moving on to fire department bay doors. Chief has got us a recommendation to accept a bid on those from Southern Door Company in the amount of $18,000. This was a budgeted item.
It was. Chief Davis can't be here, but I was going to be here to answer any questions, and Battalion Chief Beasley's here as well. But this is a budgeted item. It's 9 doors. The ones to the very back, they are beyond their useful life and need to be replaced. And also looking to add some height so we could put a actual fire truck in those doors, 12 feet high, 12 feet wide. And it was a budget item. It was under budget.
Any questions on the bay doors? Feel like we've been talking about that a while. All right. Then we've got a public hearing. We're just going to set the public hearing. So we're going to adopt this resolution tonight, which calls for a public hearing to approve. So we're not adopting new codes tonight. We're simply adopting a resolution which calls for public hearings. This Beverly and I were just talking about this statutory requirement, and this is the way we need to do it. So any questions on that? Again, not necessarily the time to talk about the codes, but we're just starting the process. Anything to add on that, Thomas? Or there'll be plenty of time, obviously, to. Looks like we're going to have a hearing on March 7th, which will be the first meeting in March. Then we are going to review and consider this resolution concerning the sewer utilities relocation on Highway 167. Glenn, you want to give us an update on that?
Council, this is for the, obviously the sewer relocation is ongoing on 167 North, and it's basically being done by an agreement between the city and AlDOT. Part of that agreement, there's some betterment involved, meaning that we're upgrading that sewer line, which means that the city would be responsible for a certain portion of the cost of the project. And that amount is 13.11% of whatever cost there is in the sewer project. This particular supplemental agreement number 3 is basically for engineering services. The agreement that we have with the city actually dates back to 2013. When this project started and we executed an agreement, that's the engineering agreement from 2013. The project obviously got shelved and then it come back, and then it started rolling. We talked to AlDOT about updating our agreement, but they said just hold off on the agreement update. And when we get to a point where, because the way the agreement works is a not to exceed amount, we estimate what we think the engineering would be. And they break it up in 3 phases. Phase 1 is like preliminary schematic design. Phase 2 is final design. And then phase 3 is actually the construction, engineering, and inspection. We were able to do the phase 1 and phase 2 under our agreement from 2013, but the phase 3 engineering is overrunning what the agreement had from 2013. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, obviously things have changed since 2013, cost-wise. The contractor's also passed his completion date. Now, there's some probably some due there for him because there's some issues that we had with the Alabama Power Company with transmission poles that created a big issue with our location on the sewer. We had to back up, do some redesign. There's supplemental agreement number 2, which the council has already approved, was for some issues with Alabama Power Company and some increased costs. It caused us to have to put more into it, which was in this phase 3 as well. So this supplemental basically is to increase the phase 3 engineering. And the cost to the council, this is an estimated amount, but the cost to the city would be about $8,859. That would be the 13.11% of what this total would be. I've been back and forth with Troy, numerous submittals back and forth over this over the last few months, and finally worked to this point. So I'm assuming, hopefully, if you approve it, then obviously ALDOT would go ahead and process this as well. I don't anticipate any issues there, but.
Any questions of Glenn on this? All right, Barry or staff, y'all got anything to add? Or okay. All right, then we've got the ALDOT lighting agreement. Jonathan, were you going to update us on that?
Mayor, Council, as you recall, back in June of last year, you authorized funds to go towards lighting the bypass from 167 south by the junior college to 27 south over by what we call a Good to Go gas station there. And anyway, that project moved along with Alabama Power, who would do the lights, install them, and maintain them. We got that proposal back from them with an agreement and an accompanying agreement from the Alabama Department of Transportation for maintenance. I have a representative here from ALDOT that was going to speak on that. This should be just a normal maintenance agreement. ALDOT likes to have those with the municipality, not the private entity that would be doing the maintenance, regardless of who that is. That's between us and if it's the power company or whoever else we might select in the future. So with that, I'll turn it over to Brendan.
Yes, just a standard agreement we have with all municipalities when it concerns lighting or traffic signals, for instance. We actually currently have any lighting you have in the city limits and your traffic signals all have maintenance agreements currently.
So we're just adding these to the same agreement we've got.
It's you do a new agreement with a new install and stuff like that. So that's all this is.
All right. Any questions, concerns on this? You got anything else to add?
I don't.
All right. Well, I think we're in good shape then. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So next item is the real estate purchase of Ram 1717. This is something probably Jonathan, this is the first time we spoke about this in public, right? We've discussed this in executive session a few times. So everybody recall these negotiations to purchase this property for the airport improvement plan. I mean, that's
it.
So this is we're getting 30 acres for $675,000. Vast majority of that will be reimbursed. 90% of that will be reimbursed from the FAA.
Potentially, we still have to apply for a grant.
Yeah, but we feel good about it.
Typically, yes, sir.
Yep. All right. Any questions on the Ram property? All right. Request permission to purchase outdoor lighting system for the Recreation Aquatic Center. So this obviously was not included in the scope of that was bid out that Whaley's performing.
This was done by design. The contractor will put all the conduits and stuff in place for all the lighting system, and then we purchase the lighting directly from Musco Lighting. We get a state bid price on the lighting system itself, so Musco will come in and install the poles and the lights, and they do their own lighting design. So this will be around the perimeter of the rec center, the parking lot, over towards the skate park area, as well as around the interior by the pool and the pool area as well. All that's included in this price.
Yep.
This was a budget. It was been the original, isn't the grand project budget,
Right.
but it was not in Whaley's bid.
Right. And the next item is same subject, different projects.
That's right.
So this one's on the multipurpose rec complex over at Peavey, phase 1. Same story.
Same story.
The existing contractor though is putting in the rough end.
So so like on the rec center, Whaley and his sub electrician will put all the sub stuff in for the lights, and then once they're done, then we'll engage Musco. Musco will bring their poles and their lights and set their lights up. And with that agreement, one of the benefits from Musco doing that, they have a 20-year warranty on their lights. So if they have any issues with it, they take care of it for the first 20 years.
Any questions on either one of these outdoor lighting system resolutions? We got the rec center and the PV complex. Then the last item is the request to retire Caddy, the police K9. Chief, you want to update us on that?
Okay, so K9 Caddy was the oldest dog that we have in the program, and she either's turning 8 or she's turning 7 this year. Normally K9s last about 8 to 10 years before we try to retire them. They lose their drive, whatever else. Unfortunately, approximately 2 weeks ago, she was in the back of a police car when they got a pretty serious wreck. She has a hairline fracture in her rear right leg that she's still having a lot of problems with. The handler that has her now said that she's hobbling around. This will be her 4th handler. If I were to keep her, this would be her 4th handler. And I don't think it's fair to her to continue to work when she's already having issues getting up and out, in and out of vehicle, having 4 handlers. And I think it's just better for her and the city to let her retire and live at least the last couple of years of her life in retirement.
The plan would be to replace her.
Absolutely not. Not right now,
No.
sir. No,
Okay.
sir. The cost of everything to replace the dog is not in our best interest right now.
Okay.
So I'll hold off a couple of years, try to continue to build the force, and then see who would want to take that responsibility on after that. So
Okay.
there's no intent to replace her right now.
Any questions or concerns about retirement of Caddy? All right.
All right.
Thanks, Chief. All right, then that would then we just got the mayor's report and council member comments. Any additions, deletions from the agenda? All right, moving right along. Next item on our work session is just a real quick strategic planning update. So as y'all can see in our, if you'll turn back to our work session folder, we've included, you should have a kind of a final draft. We'll still call it a draft to let y'all review it. But with the help of Barry and Kim and engineering, and then Jonathan and I compiled this. Basically, it's just, I mean, you should have already seen all this information in our meeting. So review that. If you feel like we missed anything, let us know. And then, of course, we've added that in reverse order, starting with the Q1 goals of 2023. You know, we planned them starting in 2033 and went down to Q1. So this being presented in reverse order because obviously that's the order we're going to take it down in. So it should be a familiar format. The only difference is we've added, obviously, the 2033. So it's it's going to make these agendas 4 pages now. But I want to keep, it's hard for something to gather moss and a lot of dust if it's in our folders every other week and we're constantly looking at it. Doesn't mean we're going to dive past the Q1 goals every time, but it's at least always here to look at. So y'all should always have a fresh copy if a constituent asks you of what's on our 10-year plan. So that's all I got there. Next item is the intergovernmental service agreement.
Mayor and council, I know that we have talked about this at least introductory level of conversation that we were approached by Fort Rucker as DoD, Department of Defense, looks at different options to accomplish things on the installation. They've approved a model that goes through intergovernmental service agreements, basically agreements with local communities, counties, state agencies to do some of the work that they would typically contract out or hire internally to do. and maybe for whatever reason they find efficiencies with it. So one example would be in the Northeast in New York, they had a city outside a military installation. Both the military installation and the city were buying salt to put down on the roads when there were icing conditions at a certain price point. And individually, it was much higher as a unit price than it would be if they combined and got a price break for buying in bulk. So that's an example of an intergovernmental service agreement that could be accomplished. It doesn't necessarily mean that the city would or could provide something, but they've asked us on certain items to explore that. And so staff, along with the mayor, in his charge, has been going out and meeting with Fort Rucker over the last few months to talk about some of those things, what we might be able to do, what we definitely couldn't do, even if we wanted to. And we plan to submit some level of proffer to Fort Rucker about what that would look like with your blessing. So nothing needs to be done tonight, but I wanted you to know that that could be on your next council packet as something that if we did, we would have a cost associated with that Fort Rucker would pay potentially, or some other agreement that we would have that would be worked out between their legal and our legal reviews. And if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. But we wanted to go through the process to make sure that if there was some way that we could help out Fort Rucker through a purchasing agreement, through workforce, through something, we wanted to vet all possibilities and submit a proposal on the ones we thought that we might have a chance to help out with. So that's on the intergovernmental service agreement. Are there any questions about that?
Obviously, we're looking for win-wins and obviously just strengthening that partnership.
Correct. So if we're doing something already that they could benefit from, for instance, like Shellfield is right inside the city limits. So we already provide water and sewer to them, but that would be an example like if they were not on water and sewer, and we could provide that to them. That would be an intergovernmental service agreement. So things like that.
All right. Pickleball.
So the Rayner has been going back and forth with the two-year college system on a draft agreement for the pickleball courts at Enterprise State Community College. We have a draft that I think was distributed to you all electronically sometime this afternoon. So if you haven't seen it yet, I don't necessarily expect you to have seen it, other than to just say that, hey, this might be on a future council agenda, either at the next meeting or in March. It is ready to execute, in our opinion. I think we've got a good final draft that's been reviewed by both parties. So we would be looking, again, for this and the intergovernmental service agreement, the next two items on your agenda, just to have authorization for the mayor to enter into these agreements on behalf of the city.
Any questions on the pickleball complex? Sounds like it's progressing. And we're working on the designs and stuff as well.
We are. McKee and Associates, you authorized that about a month ago at one of the council meetings to move forward with the design and architecture on that. And we're well underway. If things stayed on track right now, as I recall, the schedule would be completion of the pickleball courts on or about October of this year.
That's designs and construction.
Construction complete,
Yep.
ready to play.
Main Street agreement and location of container from
Okay.
Mariah and yourself.
So Mariah is having a hard time speaking today. So I told her I wouldn't make her come up here, so I won't. She can just nod from afar. But essentially, the Main Street program received a grant for a shipping container to be used as kind of an incubator for businesses. I think they have 90 days. Mariah, is that right? Up to 90 days? Somebody? Is she back there? Yeah. Oh, okay. So up to 90 days that they can be in this, and this has been done in multiple cities throughout the state, to to successfully. They've accomplished this in other cities. And what we're looking at right now is a location for that container. So what the Main Street Committee's recommendation is, we had to have power, we had to have within 500 feet of a restroom, a lot of what ifs, and then we had to look at what we controlled versus what we didn't. So their recommendation was to utilize the little parking area by the library. If you've been by it, it's got kind of a brick wall around it, maybe about 4 or 5 feet high, and then it's got an awning over the sidewalk in front of it that kind of goes up and down. So that parking area would be something we've gone through legal, asked us.
We own that.
The city owns it. That's right. And we've put a sign out that says library parking only. Sheila Harris over the library is in favor of this as well. So we've checked with the library as using that as a potential location for this. And if at any point in the future, if that location is no good, or we say it's not really working out, we can move it to a different location. Nothing would bind us from leaving it there in perpetuity. So that is the location that we think best suits the program and allows us to satisfy the conditions of the grant if you wanted to move forward with it. Again, no action tonight, but this would be on maybe the second meeting in February or the first meeting in March is something for you to consider. But I wanted to make you aware of it and answer any questions you might have about it prior to that meeting.
So, and I think I've seen some pictures of other containers and stuff. Has that been shared with the rest of the council?
I have a hard time visualizing.
Yeah, we can send.
Yeah,
Absolutely, we'll send those out. But so in a lot of communities, what they've done is they've turned it. They've painted the exterior of it. Different colors or schemes to fit in with whatever they're trying to promote. And they've put a wall AC unit maybe in it. Obviously, no plumbing or electric is required in there. And it's just like I said, a 90-day space for people to go in and incubate a business, start off, maybe introduce something to the public that they're selling, some kind of good or service that they're providing. Some places which we're not advocating to do this, but some places have even used it for a tourism type office, for a temporary thing to just kind of kick it off and say, hey, welcome to downtown. Now that's something that Main Street is not advocating, right, Mariah?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So, but we envision this, and Main Street Committee envisioned this as a place for, yeah. Yeah, I thought I said that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I misspoke, it does have AC.
Yeah, you said AC, but then you said no plumbing or electric. So
got
it'll have outlets and lighting. And,
Yeah.
Eugene,
We need electric to run the.
I was going to say, we use these containers similar to this in Iraq and Afghanistan as quarters, as offices, and we had AC, we had everything minus the plumbing.
Right.
We just went down to the showers and stuff, but they are really neat. They even put windows in them too, if whatever you want. They have a lot of different designs on them, so they are great things just to put into a small area.
And Mariah does have kind of a presentation about these that we can send out, but given the time-sensitive nature, I want to make sure we talked about it in a work session prior to maybe it showing up on a council agenda without any discussion about it.
So you're just priming us for it. We're not making any decisions.
No decisions tonight, and we will get you information sent out via email. And if you would rather, just let me know. I can put some packets together and put it in your mailboxes as well. If you'd like printouts, we can do that as well.
And the space that y'all want to put it, you're not recommending any major construction or demolition in that space. We're just going to set it in the space that's already available.
That's right. And we've even had some preliminary discussions with Enterprise State Community College on the aesthetics of it, to maybe partner with the art program there, some of the students, to come up with a design, and then potentially, depending on the cost and if it's in the budget, buy the materials to paint it. And have the art students do that as kind of a capstone project. But we're still a ways from that. We need to find a location first, call it home, and then proceed with the other in order of merit.
Any questions on that? Obviously, more information to follow, more conversations to be had. All right, National Fitness Campaign application.
So the National Fitness Campaign, this is something we looked at least a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago with Billy Powell. For those of you that are familiar with this, it's a national organization that promotes fitness throughout the country. Dothan in 2018 utilized the National Fitness Campaign grant program, which in Alabama, Blue Cross Blue Shield is a sponsor of. This year and potentially next year, they have $500,000 a year that they can award to recipients, communities like Enterprise or others throughout the state that make the application. And in return for the grant, which is typically in the $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 range, the community commits to build a fitness box, fitness space outdoors that looks a lot like, I guess, like a CrossFit type training area with lanes. And, they also have the option to expand that, double the size of it, and on the back end have a kind of a functional fitness area where you could do instructional courses like Zumba, yoga, whatever that is that you want to do outside. So they send all the materials, they assemble it, they even handle a certain degree of maintenance of the equipment as it sits outside because it's warranted. And so one of the things that Billy and I have talked about is potentially looking at doing the application, which I sent you all a link that had a video to the website. The National Fitness Campaign has over 400 of these throughout the United States right now. And Westgate Park in Dothan has one. And I think, Councilman, you drove by it.
I rode by it yesterday.
So it is very functional, and it would replace a lot of, or some of the areas that we took out of the rec center project when we looked to try to figure out how we were going to cut costs from it. So it would give us some more training area that, assuming the weather's good, people can go out and use that any time of day. Or if we want to offer classes and the classrooms are booked inside at the rec center. But that would be the location that we envision right now if we were to apply for the grant. So the city's portion of that would be probably somewhere in the 60 to 70% range. So probably in the neighborhood of $100,000 if we were to receive the grant and go, full on with the project. Again, no action tonight. We will go forward and get that grant application and then get permission to apply for the grant. But I will send all of these things out to you, kind of itemized. But I wanted to make sure we had a chance to talk about it before. If you thought it was a bad idea, don't touch that. We don't want to do it there. I wanted to kill it before we ever got to the council meeting next or in March. So, are there any questions about that particular grant program or what we're talking about?
What's the deadline for the application?
We can apply at any time. So it's on a first come first served basis. So obviously the sooner in the year we apply, the better the chances are that we would be awarded a grant.
Like Jonathan said, if y'all are over in the Dothan area soon, turn on Westgate like you go into Water World. Turn in the main entrance to the recreation complex, and it's down on the right. Of course, you can find it online. It'll show you where it is. Theirs is under a pavilion. You and Billy were not recommending initially it being under a pavilion, right?
No, not right now.
Yeah. Okay. It looked pretty neat though, but you can get out and see it and touch it if you're over in the area.
So, any other questions? Again, if you go back to that link I sent to you all, there's pictures of it, what it could look like in terms of design. It's a unique concept, and I think we get a lot of benefit out of it as a community.
Billy, I would be interested in hearing from your counterparts in Dothan or anybody else that has these and what they feel the use is, and make sure that if we're going to spend $100,000, is this the next $100,000 we need to spend?
Yeah, I'd be glad to, because we know Dothan, Prattville, I think Sarah Land,
Huntsville.
Huntsville, a few of the others have already put one in throughout the state of Alabama. So yes, we'd be glad to reach out to them and get their views and thoughts on it since they installed it.
Gotcha.
You know, see how it's going and see if we're heading on the right track with it. Okay.
All right. Any other questions on that? More to come on that. All right. So we've got it's 5:40. We've got a request from our city attorney, Rainer Cotter, to go in executive session regarding security and real estate. Any other topics, Jonathan or Rainer? Security and real estate? All right. We expect this will take about 18 minutes at this point, last all the way to 6 o'clock. When we reconvene in work session, we expect we will adjourn with no further discussion and roll right into our regular meeting. So I will entertain a motion to go into executive session concerning security and real estate. All right, a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. through the agenda. We're gonna get there at one point. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our work session is now adjourned. We're back from executive session. And I have 6 o'clock, so I will call this meeting, the regular meeting of the Enterprise City Council, to order. Let the record show that all members of the council are present. Do we have Pastor Danny Wiggins with us? Pastor Danny is going to lead us in our opening prayer, and I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could please stand.
Lord God, thank you for the day you've given us. Thank you for your gracious gifts in our lives. Thank you for the gift of this community. We ask your continual blessing and guidance for us. Bless our leaders, Lord. Thank you for the wisdom and the decisions they make on our behalf. Grant us, Lord, to know your will, to do your will, and to seek to honor you in our lives and our families and throughout our community. Pray your blessings today. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. All right, Council, you should have the agenda that we just reviewed in the work session prior in your packets in front of you. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider the consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member of the council for review, are considered to be routine, and will be enacted by one motion of the City Council with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired on an item, that item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda by request of the member of the City Council. I will now call for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If I really let the record show that I'll be abstaining because of a conflict with accounts payable B. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll now recognize Mayor Cooper, who will present Extra Mile Awards to Cynthia Adams and Tangi Hill.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have here what we call the Extra Mile Award. And this is to be given tonight to Cynthia Adams and Tangi Hill. Last December, a customer came into the water department office to have services started and was assisted by one of our utility customer service clerk, Cynthia Adams. Not only did the customer not have the right documents, but the addresses were wrong, and in the GIS property records website was also wrong. Cynthia, along with the E911 communication specialist, Tangi Hill, made numerous calls with Coffee County Courthouse, E911, addressing agents in the Proctor and other agents to get the required information that the customer did not have. They worked with this particular customer for almost 2 hours. Cynthia and Tangi, the City Council, the Waterworks Board, and I commend you on the remarkable customer experience you provided this resident. You are actually served as an example for others. We are proud to have such outstanding individuals representing the city of Enterprise. Cynthia, it says Extra Mile Award. By the office of the mayor of the city of Enterprise for going above and beyond while performing your duties. Dated the 7th day of February, 2023. It's also from your office manager, Henry Johnson, and Mayor William E. Cooper. Okay, Tangent, as the office of the mayor, city of El Bride, going above, performing beyond your duties, your job duties, dated the 7th day, February 18, 2023. Michael Moore, Chief of Police, William E. Cooper, Mayor of the City of El Bride. Thank you.
Group picture. You want all of us around there?
Yeah.
Stand behind. Thank you, Mayor, and congratulations to Ms. Cynthia and Tangi. All right, so now is the time of the meeting called Privilege of the Floor. This allows any member of the public who is present here tonight to address the council for 3 minutes. I will call your attention to some public hearings that are later on in the agenda regarding some vacation of some streets. If you're here to speak to us about that, please hold your comments until we open those public hearings. But if you're here for anything else, now would be the time to address us. So you have 3 minutes. Does anybody here wish to take the privilege of the floor? Mr. Lane, will come forward.
Good evening.
Evening.
In the microphone, please.
As a citizen of Enterprise, Alabama, born and raised here, I live at 100 Beverly Drive in Enterprise. I'm here to register a complaint, and that complaint is that Troy Cable, without notice, destroyed my yard. Last week on Monday, and there was no notification either from the city or either from Troy Cable that they were going to put down the fiber object line in the Regency subdivision. And being a member of the city and things how the city operate, normally 9 times out of 10, there's a coroplast board that the city puts up to identify an ongoing project, when the project is to begin and when the project is to end. There was no notification of Troy Cable coming into the Regency subdivision. And the majority of the people that is doing the work, I'm not faulting them, but they are Mexicans, cannot speak English, and there was only 2 supervisors there available. When I was concerned, this happened without notice. While I had taken my wife to the doctor, I came back and these people were in my yard. And they dug it up. I have 11 holes in my yard, and it's just unprofessional what they done and how they done. I understand the city is bringing in another cable company, which is Troy Cable. But it would be a lot feasible if they would run the line on the existing light poles rather than in our yard. And furthermore, then I was concerned about the easement right of way. When I purchased my property in 1984, I was given information that the right of way from my adjoining property was 3 feet either side of the center line. But there's nowhere in my plot, my plat, on my property that I purchased saying that the city had 25 feet easement right of way from the center line of the road. giving me an extra 10 feet belonging to the city of Enterprise. And therefore, Troy Cable had the right of way to go in and destroy some portion of my yard because I just had it resodded last year with soil grass. And it's just not right as individual customers of the city. And there's some other members may be here tonight that sounds that same consent.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to take privilege of the floor? Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Evening.
And I'd just like to verify what Mr. Lane said.
If you
Your
could
name and
state
address,
your
My name is David Moreland, and I live at 111 Kimberly Drive. And that's
111
Kimberly Drive in Regency Heights.
Okay.
And I just went out for the morning to go on post and do my exercise. And when I come back, there's 4 holes in my yard and equipment laying around and stuff. So I went out to talk to them, but like George said, they speak Spanish. So I got cable out of them that they were running cable, and no supervisors around. And I do a lot of walking in the neighborhood, and I couldn't find any supervisors walking around either. So I was just curious why they're out there digging holes and no supervisors, no prior notice. And I had some dirt, topsoil and potting soil, and I filled up the holes a little and bought some grass seed and raked some grass clippings over top and watered it, and now the holes are sinking down in, so I'll probably have 4 holes there, lower than the regular yard. But it was just, on supervision and no prior notice. That's what got me.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Anyone? Yes, sir. You in the back?
Good evening. My name is Alfredo Fabian Portella. Before I say anything and put my foot in my mouth, you did say that refrain from questions regarding traffic lights, right?
No. Just the vacation of the streets, East Brunson, Hollis, and Swenson. We're going to have public hearings on those.
All right, roger that. So which council member is in charge of 27 and Shell Road? It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I was just wondering. Well, what I'm trying to say is, I'm getting at rather, is I work at Fort Rucker, and sometimes we have to leave the post to go to Shell Field. Now, that area that I just mentioned, that corner, is notorious for car accidents.
You're saying the intersection of Shell
and 27. Oh, sorry, I went too far. Yeah, Roger. So there's a lot of traffic there. There's a lot of people get hit by other incoming cars, and if the city doesn't have the funds for a traffic light, which if any place needed a traffic light, that would be it.
Yeah.
But maybe put in a 4-way stop. That would alleviate much of the accidents if you can't do the traffic lights. Now, 2 other quick things after that one is the light. The light. It's on Lee right next to Sessions Cleaners. Now, what is up with that? Like at 2 o'clock in the morning, it knows that I'm coming up there, and then it turns red. Like, is there any way you guys can put the flashing lights at a certain time? Because it's annoying. It's like I'm the only person there.
So this is on Highway 27 at.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was changing. So yeah, the first one I was saying, the one
this is Lee Street at Sessions Cleaners. Yeah, that's Highway 20.
Yeah, that's Highway 27. Right,
Yeah,
Roger.
yeah.
So the other Highway 27, the one right on the other side, headed to Faulkner. That's the one that's
Correct.
the first priority.
Yeah, no, I'm just making sure. The first
so
one was
27.
Lee, was Highway 27 and Shell.
Uh,
Your next question is about Lee and
I forgot the name of the there. Edwards. I think?
Edwards. Lee and Edwards.
So that one's annoying. And there's the other one too. I live on 107 Pinecrest Loop, and that's at the back end of West College. And there's that light. And right now it's construction, but there's a light there on Harding. That's another one. Like nobody's
On
around.
College and Harding.
Yeah, West College and Harding. That's another one that it'll turn red and there's nobody around. But it would be more appropriate taking that one out and putting at least a stoplight, because it goes up and of course people get complacent and go fast. But there's really no need for those, especially like if you're the only one there and then it turns red. But anyways, that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you very much for listening to me, and have a great day. And one more thing. Ademus jura nostra defendere. Thank you.
All right, and I should have said this at the beginning, but the way this typically works is we'll take notes. Staff may have some comments on some of these items, and council may have some comments at the end of the meeting on these. We typically don't engage in dialogue on these. Anybody else want to take advantage of the privilege of the floor? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to staff reports. Are there any staff reports that we're unable to do in the work session, or want to address any of these issues?
Mayor, Council, the first thing I wanted to give a report on that I didn't get a chance to in the work session, I was notified by Mariah that 4 of our Main Street board members are rotating off this year. Those are Sheila Harris, Lee Yan, Tracy Simmons, and Wendy Grimes. The board has also submitted, and I know you like to have the names talked about prior to, so if this comes up on the next council meeting or a future council meeting, the names that the Main Street board submitted, and I'll get these memos out to you, were Sheila Harris, Shirley Skinner, Justin Robertson, and Gina Esperanza as the 4 to replace those or renew. Like I think Sheila Harris was willing to serve again. So those were the names, and I just wanted to make sure that you had an opportunity to hear those here tonight.
Okay.
Additionally, addressing some of the issues with Troy Cable.
Which is C-Spire now, correct?
C-Spire, correct. Some people still call it Troy Cable. So I'm going to ask Barry Mott to come up here and elaborate on this, but Mayor Cooper, Barry, myself, maybe even Alan Mahan with the water department, all had conversations with Troy Cable or C-Spire. Today, we have set up a future meeting to discuss some of the issues that are going on, not just on that street, but just around town. And there are some particularities about how work is done legally on easements and right-of-ways, that we have contracts with these service providers that allow them to do that. They don't have to notify the city that they're going out and doing this work necessarily. So I wanted you to hear that as well as the general public. So.
Thank you, Jonathan. So we've been in contact with Troy Cable on some of the complaints that we've gotten by the public, and we had a conversation as late as today around lunch with one of the representatives from Troy Cable. They're putting together they put together a presentation of what their project is, and I just want to restate a couple of things that Jonathan said. One, this is not a city project. Right. This is one done by Troy Cable. They do have a franchise agreement legally of what they can and cannot do in the right of way, but they've requested that we bring the names of the staff that we would like to go. We're going to meet with them and talk to them about what they're doing and what their plans are, how they're going to approach this project, how they're going to leave the project. But let you know that with that, number one, it's not a city project. 2, we want to find out kind of what it is so we can help address the citizens thing. And 3, review the legal agreement of what we can and can't do from the city's perspective in these neighborhoods. Especially showing up and people not knowing that they're there.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of the legal requirements, it just doesn't seem like it would be a very heavy lift to do some notification, whether that's put some signage out. They actually did that in my neighborhood. I don't know if it's sufficient, but they did put some signs out letting people know what was going on. Certainly, I think.
So we wanted to get together with staff, and I was thinking, Water Department, Public Works, Engineering, and probably Jonathan and the mayor to meet with Troy Cable and have more discussion with them. And they said they have a quick presentation they'd like to give us about what they're trying to do and why they're doing stuff underground and not overhead. So we'll have more information back for you at that point. But I just want to let you know that those conversations happened as late as today.
Now, what duty do they have to restore the property to the condition it was in prior?
Absolute duty. So and that's what I was coming back up here to say. I went back and found this. So this is, for members of the public that want to call into City Hall, we can give you this information, but I want to read it here for you and others. There's a number, 334-770-3444. And this is the help desk for damage that Troy Cable or C Spire has set up. And they will create a ticket so that they can track the issues that they've noted. If they cause the damage, they will come back and repair the damage. And they said in their message to me, if they don't answer and the customer leaves a message, it automatically creates a ticket and it gets emailed to the help desk. So they will respond. But for members of the public, if they have issues, they can certainly contact my office, the mayor's office, city engineering office. We want to be there to help and be an advocate for people that do, have instances like this. But I did want you to know that they have certain rights. There are things that are going on in the city with those franchise agreements that we don't have necessarily information that it's happening when it's happening.
Right.
We only get
the power company have to call the city every time they need to repair a power pole or repair an underground utility.
And unfortunately, some of these things are even happening on public utilities now, and we are growing. Typically, these impact new subdivisions, so we don't deal with it quite as often. But Troy Cable or C Spire is making a significant investment to bring fiber to a lot of different customers in the area, which is a good thing to have that choice, but it's created a lot of unintended consequences, and I think they want to be good partners with the city.
The only thing else I'd add to what Jonathan was adding was we are also, we have utilities in those right of ways as well. So coordination with them for our water, sewer, stormwater, all those things, gas. We want to coordinate with them better as well, because sometimes when you come in after the fact, you do damage to previous utilities that are there. So we want to have this meeting with them as well.
Okay. Different subject. Okay, go ahead, Mayor.
This morning, problem with our water department. We have a man, usually whenever something like this goes, we have a man that go out and report to them where the water lines are. Over there on Apple Drive this morning, they were over there working, and people were without water, so they was calling City Hall. We didn't know what was going on. So we got Allie May to go out there, and of course, Aaron and Jonathan both had talked to people up there. But in the meantime, we had to go out there and fix those water lines so that those people would have water. So that was one of the big problems this morning.
Well, there were two instances, because I went out to Mr. Lane as soon as he called me that night. And down the street, there was a house that the water was leaking out of where the meter was. There was nobody home. So we got out and his folks went out there. So maybe enough supervisors could have caught that or whatever to get it into the right folks, because they also damaged, I think, one on his property, but he has a different kind of system. But the thing about the damage, I took a lot of pictures. Please call this number, take the pictures, because what I saw was they put the grass back, but like the gentleman said, it's sinking down. They should return it as nice or better than what they found it at, because it's just, I mean, their yards are manicured. Now they're not. Sorry.
So on the next subject, I know the answer. I know the council knows the answer, but to address Mr. I think you said your name was Mr. Portella. The Sheffield Road Highway 27 intersection, we're actively working on safety improvements.
We are. We've got drawings submitted into AlDOT for some designs for the improvements of that, and that's in discussion with AlDOT at the time. We're looking at several different alternatives from roundabouts to other configurations that might be more budget conscious.
Right. So then we've also got the question about Lee Street and Edwards Light. That's a state highway. That's an ALDOT.
It is,
right?
but I had a discussion with ALDOT about that today, actually. They've come through and made a couple modifications to those lights, specifically at Lee and Edwards where the daycare is, to split the timing and do some things that help reduce down the wait time there. So we should see some benefits to that. And they're also coming back in March to do a complete resurvey again of all the lights. What will typically happen is once you change the light timing, people will start changing their travel path to use the most effective way, and then it overloads that path. So having them come back again in March should help us to eliminate some of those problem areas that we've got.
Okay. Any other questions of Barry about these issues? All right.
I had one more while I'm
yeah,
here.
absolutely. This is staff report time, so go ahead.
Just one that I didn't get a chance to talk to you about is City Hall renovations. We've got 100% set of drawings that are on the street, and talking to our architect, CC Litchfield, the contractors right now and the bid environment that we're in, they recommended that we postpone that bid opening 2 additional weeks, that it would be in our benefit for bid pricing to do so. So the new date is February the 23rd is our new bid date, which will push it back 1 council meeting. We'll be on the first council meeting in March.
Gotcha. Any questions, Barry? All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other staff reports? Chief Moore?
Yes, sir. I just wanted you guys to see Caddy before she leaves, and being that this is a longer time frame, again, if you watch her walk in, her right rear leg she's been moving back and forth to let her rest. So I want to get her off that leg and get her home. So give her just a few seconds. I told her to bring her in. We'll say, this is the dog. This is Caddy, and then if so chooses, you can vote on it, later on at the end. So just a few minutes. There's been plenty of people requesting her from people in the department. Normally what we do.
Yeah, what is the process?
So normally the process is, so a canine is actually a piece of equipment, right? That's what it's titled as. It's what its capital and expenditure, it's, ish, because it's over 5 years expected lifetime, and normally over $5,000 to purchase. Normally they're about $10,000 to $12,000 to purchase a canine, and the time that goes in training and everything else. So we try to get the life expectancy to 8 to 10 years, with given the last couple of years for retirement. What the process is from here is, once it's determined that she can retire or the equipment's done away, we try to let her, whoever would like to adopt her, we try to adopt her to a law enforcement family. Normally, currently I've got 4 that want her, 3 officers, and 1 that's a state trooper. So she'll go. We try to keep them with law enforcement because that's all she's ever known is the uniform and us and stuff like that. This canine handler, Ruby White, and currently she's taking care of Caddy. She has given the same opportunity, requested the same opportunity to keep her. But again, she's going on 8 years old. She has an injury to her rear right leg. We're going to get back to hopefully close to normal, and then we'll certainly retire after that. So, but anyways, I wanted y'all to see her. Good luck to her, and thank you.
Is she, German Shepherd or
German Shepherd? Yes, sir. German Shepherd. We got her. I was trying to do the math, and she was actually, when I was a captain, was the first canine I purchased under Chief Jones. So, yeah, she's been around. She's made a lot of drug cases. She's done a lot of searches. That's her expertise is narcotics and search and rescue, to include article finds. I know that she has her shining moment, I would say, is after somebody said won't be able to find a robbery suspect and all the stuff that he left. 12 hours afterwards, she went out and found not only the firearm that was used, but the hood that was put over, and then we subsequently found the robber later on. So we had a good idea, but we found evidence because she was able to track it down. So good girl, very good girl. So I hate to see her go, but I'm glad she can retire before something happens to her, that she won't be able to. So.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Any?
Last official photo.
Thanks, Chief. All right, thank you, Chief. Any other staff reports before we move on? Seeing none, we'll move on to old business. So we're now going to have a public hearing consideration of Resolution 020723, which is the notice to vacate portion of East Brunson Street. I will now introduce Resolution 020723 related to the partial vacation of East Brunson Street. Notice concerning this matter has been published, posted, and served. Before acting on the resolution, the council will hold a public hearing. So I'll now call for the public hearing as to anyone seeking to speak on the matter. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on this matter concerning the vacation of a portion of East Brunson Street? All right, seeing none, I will now close the hearing, and I will ask from the city clerk, the mayor, and any members of the city council and city staff to present as to if the city has received any written objection to the proposed partial vacation request. Anybody that I listed there, staff, clerk, mayor, council members. All right, hearing none, I will call for consideration of Resolution 020723. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we approve it.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 020723 concerning the vacation of portion of East Brunson Street. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll now have a public hearing and consideration of Resolution 020723A, which is the notice to vacate a portion of Hollis Street. I introduced Resolution 020723A related to the partial vacation of Hollis Street. Notice concerning this matter has been published, posted, and served, and before acting on the resolution, the council will hold a public hearing. I now call for that public hearing as to anyone seeking to speak on the matter. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on the vacation of a portion of Hollis Street? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask the city clerk, mayor, city council, city staff that are present the same question. Has anyone received any written objection to the proposed partial vacation request? All right, seeing none, I will now call for a motion to adopt Resolution 020723A.
So moved.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 020723A regarding the vacation of a portion of Hollis Street. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now have a public hearing consideration of Resolution 020723B regarding the notice to vacate portion of Swinson Street. I introduced Resolution 020723B related to the partial vacation of Swinson Street. Notice concerning this matter has been published, posted, and served, and before acting on the resolution, the council will hold a public hearing. And I'll call for that public hearing as to anyone wishing to speak on the matter. Is there anyone here wishes to speak on the matter of vacation of portion of Swenson Street? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing, and I will ask the same question of the city clerk, mayor, city council, and city staff. Has anyone here present tonight received a written objection to the proposed partial vacation request? All right, hearing none, I'll call for a motion to adopt resolution 020723B.
I move that we adopt the resolution.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 020723B concerning the vacation of a portion of Swenson Street. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll now review and consider a bid recommendation for the 2021 CDBG demolition project phase 4. I introduce and call for consideration of a recommendation from David Ewing, project consultant, to award the bid for the 2021 CDBG project demolition project phase 4 to Hopper Moore Incorporated, DBI at BMI, in the amount of $29,980. Upon review of the bid submitted, it was determined that the low bid of $28,893 from Lewis Incorporated failed to meet the requirements for bid submission and was therefore rejected. Other bids received are as follows. McLean Contracting for $48,000. Do I hear a motion to approve this bid recommendation? So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now move to a review and consideration of a bid recommendation regarding the fire department bay doors. I introduce and call for consideration of a recommendation from Fire Chief Christopher Davis to award bid requisition number 2023-01 for the complete removal and installation of 9 roll-up steel doors at Central Fire Station to Southern Door Company in the amount of $18,000. Other bids received are as follows. All Access Overhead Door, LLC for $21,780. BCS, LLC for $39,798. Do I hear a motion to approve this bid recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, moving on to new business. We'll review and consider resolution 020723C. This is to set a public hearing and adoption of the building codes. This is not the adoption of the building codes, simply to set a public hearing. So I introduce and call for consideration of resolution 020723C, providing to set a public hearing for March 7th, 2023, to determine whether or not the City Council shall pass an ordinance adopting the provisions of the International Code Council 2021 edition. Do I hear a motion to adopt resolution 020723C?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now review and consider resolution 020723D regarding the sewer utilities relocation on Highway 167 North. I introduce and call for consideration of resolution 020723D, providing to approve the supplemental agreement number 3 for utility relocation costs with the state of Alabama, acting by and through the Alabama Department of Transportation for the relocation of sewer utilities on Highway 167 North in conflict with the state's construction of project number STPAA-A115900. Resolution 020723D further authorizes the mayor to execute the agreement contingent upon ALDOT approval. Do I hear a motion to adopt resolution 020723D?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider the authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with ALDOT regarding the southern bypass lighting. I call for a motion to authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with the Alabama Department of Transportation related to the installation, operation, and maintenance of roadway lighting along the southern bypass. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider the motion to approve real estate purchase from RAM 17 LLC. I call for a motion to approve the purchase of real estate owned by RAM 17 LLC, located at the corner of Bowleville Circle and County Road 606, Enterprise, Alabama 36330, and authorize the mayor to execute the necessary closing documents. A portion of this parcel is subject to a pending condemnation proceeding. However, the city and property owner were able to agree on the purchase of the entire parcel acreage of approximately 30 acres for $675,510. Do I hear a motion to approve this purchase?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider the request for permission to purchase outdoor lighting system for the Recreation and Aquatic Center. I introduce and call for consideration of a request from City Engineer Public Works Director Barry Mott to purchase the outdoor lighting system for the new Recreation and Aquatic Center from Musco Sports Lighting LLC through Sourcewell at a cost of $211,000. Do I hear a motion to grant this permission?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider this request for permission to purchase outdoor lighting system for the Enterprise Multipurpose Recreational Complex, Phase 1. I introduce and call for consideration of a request from consulting engineer Glenn Morgan to purchase outdoor lighting system materials for the Enterprise Multipurpose Recreational Complex, Phase 1, from Musco Sports Lighting LLC through Sourcewell at a cost of $450,000. Do I hear a motion to grant this permission?
I move that we grant permission.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider the request to retire Police K-9. I introduce and call for consideration of a request from Police Chief Michael Moore to retire Police K-9 Caddy. She will be placed in a happy, healthy home to live out the remainder of her days relaxed. Do I hear a motion to grant this request?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor, you have a report for us?
Thank you, Mr. President. President's Day is on Monday, February 20th. All city offices will be closed. The trash schedule will be adjusted for the holiday. Monday's trash will be picked up on Tuesday, and Tuesday's trash will be picked up on Wednesday. No other days en route will be affected. Governor Kay Ivey declared this week as Alabama Severe Weather Awareness Preparedness Week. Now is a good time to check the batteries in your weather radio to make sure you have multiple ways to receive alerts in the event of a severe storm. A reminder about the barricades downtown. They are there for your safety. Please do not lose them or cross them. Pedestrians are reminded to use the sidewalks that will only cross Main Street in the designated crosswalk. Speaking of downtown, Main Street is requesting your feedback from a survey on the downtown overlay district. This survey is open to everyone. You can find it on the link on our website or on the Downtown Enterprise Facebook page. We are excited to announce that WTBY will return to Enterprise for a hometown tour live show on May 5th. Stay tuned for more details on the fun activities the city will have planned that day. The City of Enterprise is proud to sponsor tonight's production, Forever Young, brought to you by the Coffee County Arts Alliance. Enterprise native Brad Baker will be part of the show that starts at 7 o'clock at the Enterprise High School Performing Arts Center. Finally, make sure you stay up to date with what's happening in our city by following our Facebook page or visiting our website. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Sonia, you have a report?
Good to see everyone out tonight. Certainly congratulations to Ms. Adams and Mrs. Hill on their award tonight. I did understand there's a meeting scheduled with the ceasefire, and I certainly hope that whether it falls on deaf ears or not, that we are expressing that although this is not a city project and they probably don't have to inform the city, it's just a courtesy that they should. And it's very disheartening to hear what happened to Mr. Lane's yard and the gentleman's yard and all those residents there. I think that is highly inconsiderate. And I think that we need to express as a city that we don't want that for our citizens, to just a simple courtesy of a sign or email. Anything they could have even contacted us to say, hey, let your folks know that we're coming on such and such date. So I hope that we express that when we have this meeting in the future. But that's my rant, and you all have a good night.
Mr. Eugene?
I agree with Sonia as far as the courtesy of the cable company. I've had numerous reports of people complaining also. Bring it to your attention, March 18th is the day of service by the Oscar Club. They're asking all individuals, clubs, churches to come up with a project for that day so that we can clean up our city more than ever. So I hope you remember that and participate in it. Thank you for coming tonight.
Mr. Paget?
I guess I'll tag on with what's already been said about ceasefire. I've had some complaints as well, and my contact that I talked to at Troy Cable said that in some other areas that ceasefire has actually gone out and hung door hangers on doors ahead of it. And so I don't know if we can convince them to do the same thing here or not, but that would be, at least the knowledge of what's going on is much better, even if it still has to happen. I'd personally love them to come down my street, but I'd be aggravated if they did without telling me. So.
Yeah, I agree. We at least owe a courtesy call or something to our citizens around the community. I'd also like to thank Miss Adams and Miss Hill. That's an awesome treat, get an award like that. And Caddy, enjoy your retirement, the life you're going through. Just breaks my heart, seeing that. But and then thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for everybody online. And if I can put a shameless plug in here, we're getting ready to have our first class of the year for the Community Emergency Response Team from Coffee County, February 17th and 18th, and then the hands-on where you actually put out a fire and a few other things on the 25th. There's flyers up all over. You can look at the city site. There's a place up there. If not, call me, 334-806-1994, and I will get you in the class. Okay, thank you.
All right. Yeah, thank you all. Thank everybody for their comments. Certainly ditto everything that's said. And, on the ceasefire, I can speak firsthand. And I see some of my neighbors out here that I was unimpressed with what they did in our neighborhood, unimpressed with what they did in my yard. So I certainly share your sentiments and frustrations. And, hopefully we can convince them that they need to do a better job of notification, communication, and getting the word out, and putting the yard back in the shape it was in when they found it. So that's all I got. Thank y'all for coming forward and putting pressure on the situation. Mr. Portella, thank you for your comments. That certainly the safety of that intersection has been something that's been on this council's radar for several years now. So we share your concerns there. It can't move fast enough, obviously, but hopefully one of these days we can look back and or look at a much safer intersection. So that's all we've got tonight. We are adjourned. We will see you in 2 weeks.
Honey, taking part of the fifth process tonight. I challenged her.